It's Neo Smartas. Okay. What is that?
What is that?
Neo Smartas.
Yeah, it would take me a while to explain, but
Neo
it's not a
Smarta,
good
yes.
thing.
Uh,
It's not a good thing. Let's just
I
put it
see.
that way.
All right.
Neo
Okay.
You're
Smarta
familiar with
Skanama. That is
Smarta,
a very,
Smarta Brahmanan?
it sounds very political to
Martha
me.
Brahman. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I'll send you the ebook, but it's something to know about because they have a pernicious influence within ISKCON and they're presenting a lot of like caste Brahmin conceptions and things like that and trying to minimize Prabhupada's position and there's a whole bunch of stuff going on.
I saw,
So
yes, yes. See, that is what is
so
going on currently, Kanama. A lot of all this is going on.
yeah, yeah. I hope you're both well, by the way.
Hmm?
Yes.
I hope everything is
We are.
well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Um, I hope you are doing well, Prabhuji. I hope
Yeah,
you
yeah.
are.
I injured my back shoveling.
On your leisure time, what are you reading? Acha, Neo, this thing, Kanama. Yeah, of course, that book. But
Oh,
anything else?
otherwise,
Ah,
I just finished Nectar of Instruction today. I'm going to be starting Ishopanishad tomorrow. I'm on a Bhakti Shastri cycle, and I'm going to be starting the 10th chapter of the second canto tomorrow. And I'm still in the Bhagavad Sandarbha. Going to switch back to the Tattva Sandarbha in presentation for the meeting, the lunch
this
gathering next week.
are you kind of going through formal Bhakti Shastri?
No, I just mean I'm reading the Bhakti Shastri books. Like
Hmm.
I read Gita.
On your.
I'm also working on my Gita shloka memorization. So
Yes.
but yeah, I read Nectar of Devotion and then I'm just finished Nectar of Instruction. Tomorrow I'm gonna start the Ishopanishad and I'm memorizing Gita shlokas and reading Bhagavatam. After I finish Ishopanishad, I'm gonna reread the CC. So yeah, and keeping up with the Sandarbha study and trying to do a little Sanskrit. So yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
this is great.
very nice. Yeah.
Hmm.
All right.
Hmm.
जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय द्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद
जय जय
Jaya
श्री
Jaya
चैतन्य
Shri
जय
Chaitanya Jaya
नित्यानंद
Nityananda
जय
Jaya
अद्वैत
Advaita
चंद्र जय गौरा
Chandra
भक्त
Jaya
वृंद
Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
जय 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 श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय द्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद
जय जय श्री
Jaya
चैतन्य
Jaya Shri
जय
Chaitanya
नित्यानंद
Jaya
जय अद्वैत
Nityananda Jaya Advaita
प्रभुत
Chandra
चंद्र जय गौरा
Jaya
भक्त
Jaya
वृंद
Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय अद्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद
जय जय श्री
Jaya
चैतन्य
Jaya Shri
जय
Chaitanya Jaya
नित्यानंद जय अद्वैत
Nityananda
चंद्र जय
Jadvita
गौरा
Chandra
भक्त
Jaya Gaura
वृंद
Bhakta Vrinda.
Okay. All right, that chapter 8, text 192. That you can start.
हाँ प्रभु बोले तुम्ही आशीर्वाद करा यारे भट्टाचार्य पदा कौन दुर्लभा तहारे. Translation. The Lord replied, it is not difficult for anyone you bless to become a Bhattacharya.
Text 193. Yahare ye jigyasena Shri Gaura Sundara Hena nahi paduya ye dibe ka uttara. Whenever Shri Gaura Sundar asked a question, none of the students were able to answer.
Text 194. Apani karena tabe shuchira stapana sheshe apanara vyakya karena kandana. He would himself establish the explanations, and the next moment he would refute it. Purport. One should know that the controller of Maya, Lord Vishnu, has the ability to do, undo, and redo anything.
Text 195. Keha yadi kona mate na pare stapite tabe sei vakya prabhu kare na surite. If someone was unable to establish a point, the Lord would give the proper explanation. Purport. The word surite means properly or nicely.
Text 196. कि बा स्नाने कि भोजने कि बा पर्यटाने नाहिका प्रभुरा आरा चेष्टा शास्त्र विने. While bathing, eating, or traveling, the Lord had no engagement other than studying the scriptures. Wow.
It's 197. Yei mata achena takora vijayase prakashana kare jagatera dina doshe. While the Lord enjoyed his pastimes as a student, he did not disclose himself because of the fallen condition of the world. Purport. The phrase Dina Doshe refers to persons of this world who possess material knowledge and are averse to Lord Vishnu, who is beyond material sense perception. Since they cannot accept the superiority of spiritual knowledge by which one's attraction to Vishnu is awakened, they are called Dina, or poor. Tridandi Goswami Srimati Prabodhananda Sarasvati has written in his Chaitanya Chandramrita 36 as follows. Lord Chaitanya Chandra has expanded a golden ocean of devotional mellows. The most unfortunate person who is untouched by this ocean is certainly cheated for ages together.
Text 198. Hari Bhakti Sunya Haila Sakala Sansara Asat Sanga Asat Patha Bainahi Ara. At that time, the entire world was devoid of devotional service to the Lord, and people were engaged simply in materialistic association and activities. Purport: all inferior mundane association and processes that have no relationship with the absolute truth Vishnu, the controller of Maya, are simply materialistic association and activities.
Text 199. Nana Brupe Putra Dira Mahotsava Kare Deha Geha Vyatirikta Ara Nahi Spure. People held various grand festivals for their sons and daughters, and they had no concern for anything other than their bodies and homes. Purport. Foolish materialists of that time were maddened with furtive activities and simply engaged in satisfying their wives and children. Furthermore, putative workers or persons who were expert in pious activities who licked the feet of people like Bhima Bhatta simply engaged their bodies and minds in opening hospitals and schools of mundane knowledge on the pretext of compassion for the purpose of sense gratification in their future life. Such people were under the control of selfish motives and thus highly averse to serving Krishna without reward. The Smriti Shastras are not meant to educate or uplift the consciousness of such people. These people are ignorant fools. Service to Lord Hari is the highest duty for all people at all times. By forgetting this supreme truth, these people develop desires for material enjoyment based on mundane welfare activities.
Very, very great purport. This
Yeah,
brings out the mind of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur about these things. And when the shloka says, he, matlab, you see, how much time? 500 years back,
500
people
years.
had various grand festivals for their sons and daughters, and they had no concern for anything other than their bodies and homes. Imagine what has happened now.
Much, much more.
500 years back,
Same thing and a
well,
much accelerated.
this was the thing.
Well, it just shows you that it hasn't really changed. I mean, remember the
It
beginning?
has expanded. It has gone on exponential curve.
Well, yeah, but
That's
I mean the essential central way it revolves hasn't changed. It may have
about
become more
the
so.
family,
Yeah.
daughter, sons and
Everything is
daughters.
about extending the family lineage and all about establishing a respectable name and getting a position in society. Remember at the beginning of this volume when it was talking about the Society of Vaishnavas under Advaita Acharya, how they were getting ridiculed and people were making fun of them, and it's like you cry out to Lord Krishna, but you're poor, and why don't you get a job? And things people are still saying to devotees
Oh
now,
yes, yes,
and
very much, very much. They are
so
being ridiculed even now.
yeah. So it's interesting that it doesn't really change in its essence. I don't mean
Oh
that the
yes,
forms don't change, because the
yes,
forms, and
yes.
obviously in some ways in some ways, the sense gratification is even more explicit and base than it was back then. I mean, it seems like even in sexual dealings, there was still some sense of propriety and chasteness in dealings, even at that time in material society. It wasn't quite as blatantly expressed as it is now, but the
Now,
essential idea was there. It was still selfish people acting selfishly. And Varun, like you said the other day, I'm basically, a variation of what you said. I'm basically a recovering materialist. So, I'm coming out of that mentality myself. So I'm not exactly pointing fingers, but most of us now in the East or West are trained to think like this from the time that we grow up. So, it's unfortunate,
actually,
but it's not too surprising. Yeah, yeah,
actually, halfway through this, it says this is a very the Smriti Smartas are not meant to educate or uplift the consciousness of such materialistic people. I mean, that's why actually, like as you said, I am a recovering materialist. Actually, this type of thing it would not actually help me at all. Actually, devotional service, somewhere Ahetuki Kripa happened, and then we did some devotional service, and that's how. Otherwise, actually, I feel like these people are really condemned because materialist. You will not even be able to understand these things. You will not be able to appreciate devotees. You will ridicule them. It's like there is no way out for those poor people, like the materialist. And I know
yeah.
that's how, yeah, these type of things didn't used to make sense to me at all before.
That is why
Yeah.
all this, it had a profound effect on Advaita Acharya and Mahaprabhu eventually, they, that compassion, the karuna and all that, that
Karuna,
is where it came from. Yes, they wanted to, and they wanted to give a very easy way of becoming spiritual.
very easy way.
Harer Nama, Harer Nama Kevalam.
Hello,
Hello,
Nashti,
Nastia, Vanastia, Vanastia, Vagatiranyata.
Yatha.
Yes,
Yes. Um,
200.
is it,
Yours,
is
I
that
think your
me?
turn.
Your
Yes,
turn.
I think,
Okay, okay.
yes.
Hey, after
Great.
me, it
Okay.
is Varun.
No, I read the last one. Yeah, I read
Acha,
199.
you have already
Prabhuji.
read the big
Yeah,
purport. Yes, yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. Hmm.
No, 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 it's okay. Text 200. Vidyasuke deki sarva lokera adara Vaishnavera ganaduka bhavena antara. The Vaishnavas were all distressed at heart to see the people's attachment to illusory happiness.
Hmm. Krishna Bali Sarva Gane Kare na Krandana E Saba Jivire Kripa Kara Narayana. They all cried, "O Krishna, O Lord, please be merciful on these fallen souls."
202. हे न देह पाइया कृष्ण नहीं हाइला राती कटा काला गिया आरा भुंजीबे दुर्गति. These people have not developed attachment for Krishna after attaining this human form of life. How long will they suffer such degradation?
Text 203. Ye nara sharira lagi deve hamyakare tata viarta yaya mitya sukera vihare. The human form of life, which is desired even by the demigods, is being wasted in the pursuit of false happiness. Purport. The first line of this verse indicates that only the human birth is favorable for worshiping Lord Hari. Therefore, it is desired even by the demigods. The demigods' prayers in the Srimad Bhagavatam 5:19, 21 to 25 in this regard are as follows. Since the human form of life is the sublime position for spiritualization, all the demigods in heaven speak in this way. How wonderful it is for these human beings to have been born in the land of Bharatavarsha. They must have executed pious acts of austerity in the past, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself must have been pleased with them. Otherwise, how could they engage in devotional service in so many ways? We demigods can only aspire to achieve human births in Bharatavarsha to execute devotional service, but these human beings are already engaged there. After performing the very difficult tasks of executing Vedic ritualistic sacrifices, undergoing austerities, observing vows, and giving charity, we have achieved this position as inhabitants of the heavenly planets. But what is the value of this achievement? Here we are certainly very engaged in material sense gratification, and therefore we can hardly remember the lotus feet of Lord Narayan. Indeed, because of our excessive sense gratification, we have almost forgotten his lotus feet. A short life in the land of Bharatavarsha is preferable to a life achieved in Brahmaloka for millions and billions of years, because even if one is elevated to Brahmaloka, he must return to repeated birth and death. Although life in Bharatavarsha in a lower planetary system is very short, one who lives there can elevate himself to full Krishna consciousness and achieve the highest perfection, even in this short life, by fully surrendering unto the lotus feet of the Lord. Thus, one attains Vaikuntha Loka, where there is neither anxiety nor repeated birth in a material body. An intelligent person does not take interest in a place, even in the topmost planetary system, if the pure Ganges of topics concerning the Supreme Lord's activities does not flow there. If there are not devotees engaged in service on the banks of such a river of piety, or if there are no festivals of Sankirtan Yagya to satisfy the Lord, especially since Sankirtan Yagya is recommended in this age. Bharatavarsha offers the proper land and circumstance in which to execute devotional service, which can free one from the results of jnana and karma. If one obtains a human body in the land of Bharatavarsha with clear sensory organs with which to execute the Sankirtan Yagya, but in spite of this opportunity he does not take to devotional service, he is certainly like liberated forest animals and birds that are careless and are therefore again bound by a hunter. That's pretty clear.
Yes, 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 yes. Yeah. Text 204. कृष्ण यात्रा महोत्सव पर्व नहीं कारे विवाहादि कर्मे से आनंदकारी मारे. They don't celebrate Krishna's appearance day, but they spend their entire lives celebrating weddings and other family festivals. The word yatra is explained by Sridhar Swami in his commentary on the words Puja Yatrotsava Shritan in Srimad Bhagwatam 11.27.50, wherein he says the word yatra refers to to a special function performed by a large group of people, and the word utsava refers to festivals such as Vasant. Regarding the verse Mama Parvanu and Sarva Varshika Parvasu in Srimad Bhagavatam 11.11.36 to 37, he says the word Parva refers to festivals like Janmashtami and regular observance of like Chaturmasya and Ekadashi. And in his explanation on the word Mahotsava in Srimad Bhagavatam 5.19.23, he says a Mahotsava is a festival in which devotees chant and dance. Regarding the verse Mare, foolish people who consider their bodies as themselves forget their worshipable Lord. In other words, due to ignorance of their relationship with the Lord, they do not endeavor to please Hari, Guru, and Vaishnava. Rather, they engage in various activities for pleasing their own senses and mind. Therefore, they give up service of adhokshaj or the path of ultimate benefit and accept the path of temporary enjoyment. They do not travel the path leading to Vaikuntha or immortality, rather, they travel the path to hell or material existence. In this way, they travel through various species and suffer unlimited miseries. The only duty of all living entities is to perform activities for the pleasure of Hari, Guru, and Vaishnava, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 11.29.8, Yan Shraddhaya Charan Martyo Mratyum Jayanti Durlagam, by the execution of which a mortal human being will conquer unconquerable death. Also in the Srimad Bhagavatam 2.1.4, Sri Shukdev speaks to Maharaj Parikshit as follows: person devoid of Atma Tattva do not inquire into the problems of life, being too attached to the fallible soldiers like the body, children, and wife. Although sufficiently experienced, they still do not see their inevitable destruction. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 3.30 Point 3 to 14 and 18, Lord Kapil Dev speaks the following words to his mother Devhuti. The misguided materialist does not know that this his very body is impermanent, and that the attraction of home, land, and wealth, which are in relationship to that body, are also temporary. Out of ignorance only, he thinks that everything is permanent. The living entity, in whatever species of life he appears, finds a particular type of satisfaction in that species, and he is never averse to being situated in such a condition. The conditioned living entity is satisfied in his own particular species of life. While deluding by the covering influence of the illusory energy, he feels little inclined to cast off his body, even when in hell, for he takes delight in hellish enjoyment. Such satisfaction with one's standard of living is due to deep rooted attraction for body, wife, home, children, animals, wealth, and friend. In such association, the conditioned soul thinks himself quite perfect. Although he is always burning with anxiety, such a fool always performs all kinds of mischievous activities with a hope which is never to be fulfilled in order to maintain his so called family and society. He gives his heart and senses to a woman who falsely charms him with Maya. He enjoys solitary embraces and talking with her, and he is enchanted by the sweet words of the small children. The attached household remains in his family life, which is full of diplomacy and politics, always spreading miseries and controlled by acts of sense gratification. He acts just to counteract the reactions of all his miseries. And if he can successfully counteract such miseries, he thinks that he is happy. He secures money by committing violence here and there, and although he employs it in the service of his family, he himself eats only a little portion of the food thus purchased, and he goes to hell for those for whom he earned the money in such an irregular way. When he suffers reverses in his occupation, he tries again and again to improve himself. But when he is baffled in all attempts and ruined, he accepts money from others because of excessive greed. Thus, the unfortunate man, unsuccessfully in maintaining his family members, is bereft of all beauty. He always thinks of his failure, grieving very deeply. Seeing him unable to support them, his wife and others do not treat him with the same respect as before, even as miserly farmers do not accord the same treatment to their old and worn out oxen. The foolish family man does not become averse to family life, although he is maintained by those whom he once maintained. Although he is maintained by those whom he once maintained, deformed by the influence of old age, he prepares himself to meet ultimate death. Thus, the man who engaged with uncontrolled senses in maintaining a family dies in great grief, seeing his relatives crying. He dies most pathetically in great pain and without consciousness.
Yeah, it makes me
Actually,
think of
Prabhuji?
I was going to say, it just makes me think of our current political situation and how you have all of these hate groups. They have like the MAGA people and the hardcore evangelicals in the United States. And I know that there's some similar things. I've heard that there's some kinds of somewhat similar things going on in India and in various parts with different types of political dealings. But in the US, we have all of these groups trying to impose all of these like hateful, misogynistic, and discriminatory laws, and they're just so bound by their own delusional thinking that they think that this is like the whole point of their lives. So they're going to die being caught up in all of this nonsense for the sake of like, look at Trump. He's just bankrupting the country and supporting all of these criminals. And he was such a bad person sexually assaulting women and things like that earlier in his life, and he and his cabinet are just bent on having this like system of control and power over people. To what end? Just so they can be hateful little tyrants and just manipulate and drive people crazy, and then they're going to die and have to deal with the consequences of their actions. It's so utterly insane when you really stop to think about it for a minute. And they're putting so much energy into it. Their whole life is about the prosecuting these hateful and mean-spirited agendas just to be oppressive and crappy to people around them. It's utterly crazy though. It's really so crazy. So yeah.
Yeah, Trump is just one example of how the man is completely given to family, children, nation, the way they perceive all these things, because these are all body conceptions only. And here actually here if you see, I see it a complete teaching by these two, Kapil Dev and Devhuti, and plus Bhakti Siddhanta has put so much punch in this purport. Actually, you see,
Yes.
it is there is. Let us forget about the at the macro aspect, but for us there is a very great this thing ki matlab we remain deluded till the very end, and that
Yeah.
is where it is very important to really read these scriptures and remain in sadhu sang. If you can find one sadhu, even one sadhu in your life, there's a guru, sadhu, shastra, karma. I think it came here somewhere, है ना? So you
Yeah.
see, karma, it is not easy to get a sadhu in these times. People are
I
all
have
karma.
two. I have two sadhus to associate with. So
No, no. You see, karma, that part. You see, we are thoroughly contaminated. We are at least I am contaminated, because we hypocrisy is there in me at least. So you see, I am trying.
God,
Yes,
God
yes,
knows.
yes. I
yeah,
am.
but it's true. I have it too, I'm not my material desires are still very strong and working on becoming purified. But I emphasize this now. I brought this up at the Tuesday men's call and because I think it's important, like we do have to be aware of that, but we also have to be grateful for the fact that for whatever reason, Sri Nam decided to bestow his mercy upon us. We, for
Yes,
whatever
That
reason, we have been,
yes.
I always feel encouraged by what you had said earlier also, and kind of repeating today, that we should
yeah, and
not.
it's, I mean,
I should not be so much self-deprecating. You say?
well, I mean, it is important to keep that in mind as well. See, I emphasize it because I felt like sometimes, we do need to be aware of our position and not get puffed up about our position. But at the same time, I find sometimes it could be a little discouraging. So I think it's important to have both things in mind. Yes, I'm a neophyte. I'm a beginner on this path of bhakti, but at least I'm on the path.
At
At
least
Yes,
I'm
least
on
I
the
yes,
have the
path.
yes, yes.
opportunity.
These two
At least
roads,
I'm on the path.
at least, we have started with whatever form of sadhana bhakti.
Yes,
At least
we're
we are
we're
able to
reading
give
Chaitanya
some
Bhagavat
hours
together.
in a
What's that?
Bhagwat together. At least we are able to give few hours to chanting. We are able to read Chaitanya Bhagwat. This is really something. Because I'll share this. 5 years ago, me and dad, we did not know. We knew Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as a historical figure, like somewhere it was read in history books, right? But we did not know like he is the supreme personality of Godhead. And within 4 5 years, now we are relishing Chaitanya Charitamrita, we are relishing Chaitanya Bhagwat. This is to me, it is really the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that he has deemed it that we can actually enjoy his pastime. He has opened his pastime to us. At least that's what it feels to me. Because Chaitanya Charitamrita is available to so many people, but there are very few people who seem to be reading it. It seems. So
Yeah.
or Chaitanya Bhagwat is even more. I came to know about it from you, Prabhuji.
Hey, you
Even
you
though so
actually, you can know the importance of Chaitanya Bhagavat only after you start reading Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Chaitanya Charitamrita.
that how much,
Yeah,
unless
that's
these
true.
two, unless you read both and try to come at
Yes,
this thing, and
yes,
you will not get the whole thing.
it is amazing
because
that
you can
way.
see how they. I'm sorry, I don't feel like you got to complete your thought, Varun.
No, I was going to say that, yes, that uh, to me it is almost, I mean, that the Lord has very close associates, but they are also hidden by Yog Maya the same way, like the Vedas, the purports of them. It's almost like the more we are able to read, I feel like the Lord is opening himself up. All right, I think you can enjoy this, or not just enjoy, but you can at least appreciate it, this aspect of me, this aspect of my devotees.
Yeah,
Otherwise, otherwise, as it is really the materialists, they will never understand. And I was a materialist. I wouldn't understand any of this before
yeah.
coming to this. So that's all.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, yeah. But to Shailendra's point, it is interesting how they really do complement each other, right? Because there is you don't have the same level of Siddhanta in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. You don't have the
Mm,
discussions of who is the sub-lamb of the sub-lamb and the discussion of the Panchatattva and the Chatur Vyuha expansions and all that. And there are leelas, there's so many pastimes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, but the emphasis is on, discussing the Vaikuntha planets and the higher aspects of devotion. Here in Chaitanya, and as you're seeing in Chaitanya Bhagavat, there's almost none of that, but it's the Leela, the emphasis on the Leela makes it so sweet and such an amazing read. And they really do fit together so nicely. I want to read the Chaitanya Chandramrita. I have that. We have a few other of books on Lord Chaitanya, but yeah, the Chaitanya Bhagavats is a very special writing.
Yes.
But I do agree that you have to read Chaitanya Charitamrita. That's why Prabhupada translated it first. You have to get established in the Siddhanta and at least conceptually understanding the conclusions given by the Vaishnava Acharyas about Mahaprabhu. And then once you have that frame, you can go into reading CV and it'll make more sense.
mm.
It would have been awesome though if Prabhupada had been able to translate the Chaitanya Bhagavat
Actually,
along with the
Chaitanya
CC.
Bhagavatam.
So yeah.
That would be really something. You're right, Prabhu. Okay, 205. तुम्हारा से जीवा प्रभु तुम्ही से रक्षिता जी बालिबा आमारा तुम्ही से सर्वपिता. O Lord, the living entities are your parts and parcels, and you are their protector and supreme father. Purport. The phrase Tomara se Jiva is explained as follows. Lord Vishnu is the supreme consciousness and the supreme controller, or the supreme soul, and the living entities are all controlled by him and possess minute consciousness. Therefore, they are constitutionally Vaishnavas or subordinate to him. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 15.7, Mama Ivamsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts.
Text 206. Mata Bhaktagana Sabara Kushala Chintena Gayena Krishna Chandrera Mangala. In this way, the devotees always desire the welfare of the living entities and they pray to Lord Krishna on their behalf.
Text 207. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Chanda Jana Vrindavan Das Tachu Pada Yuge Gana. Accepting Sri Chaitanya and Nityanand Prabhu as my life and soul, I, Vrindavan Das, sing the glories of their lotus feet. Thus end our English translation of Gaudiya Bhashya of Sri Chaitanya Bhagwat chapter 8 entitled The Disappearance of Jagannath Mishra.
Haribol.
Haribol, we
Haribol.
finished the
Acha,
first
it
book.
does not mention at all. I think that Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he has not told about himself anywhere.
No.
No.
Nowhere it comes out that it is he who has done
Purports
this.
by him, or yeah,
Or
like these
yeah,
are his
like
purports.
Srila Prabhupada,
Srila
he
Prabhupada.
gives in the end himself, no?
Yeah. Yep, these are the purports of Srila Prabhupada for chapter so and so. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
This
right.
man was, yeah, very.
Amazing.
Anyway, this is great. Yeah, we are finishing one book.
Part 2.
Yeah. And I have to say I really love the picture on the cover of part two with
Right?
Mahaprabhu talking to the Digvijayi Pandit. It's such a
नहीं
beautiful
काजी
picture.
Beautiful, right?
yeah, he's talking to Kazi.
Okay, Kazi.
Actually, I think this because this in this volume the conversation with the Digvijayi Pandit is discussed and it talks about them meeting on the bank of the river. So that's why I
Ah,
think it's actually the Digvijayi Pandit. And if you
Digvijay
look,
Pandit.
Digvijay,
Okay,
right?
because
yes,
it's not Kazi.
It's not the
Okay,
Kazi.
sorry,
Right.
yeah.
sorry, my mistake.
That's it.
No,
You
no,
see,
no,
he
it's
was
okay. I mean,
no.
that's
He's
fine. I just
having this Vishnu Tilak and yeah.
Yeah.
acha, acha. This is the because behind him the audience is also Vaishnavas.
Vaishnavas.
yeah,
Oh,
and if you look, they're all young boys. They're not adults. Like the
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Digvijay Pundit is obviously an adult, but
Ah,
Nimai is
ha.
also he looks like a
Yeah,
youth
this
here. So
Digvijay
yeah,
Pandit is same person as
It's
Keshav
Keshav
Kashmiri.
Kashmiri or
I
no?
think it might be. I don't remember off the top of
Right?
my head, but hopefully it'll be clarified as we
Maybe,
As we
yeah,
get in.
yes,
yeah.
because Keshav Kashmiri is the only person whom he defeated, and it is very much,
Yes, it is
very,
Keshav Kashmiri.
Yeah,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes.
because it
I'm
is very
sorry,
much
my
mentioned.
memory is
Yeah. We just read in Chaitanya
Yeah. You just
Charitamrita
read.
the whole episode. It is very, very indicative. Very, very good. Very great, actually.
All right.
yeah.
Exciting things to come. Mm. Okay. I will start. Chapter 9. Okay. Chapter 9, text 1. जय जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य कृपा सिंधु जय जय नित्यानंद अगातिर बंधु. All glories to Sri Krishna Chaitanya, who is an ocean of mercy. All glories to Sri Nityanand Prabhu, who is the friend of those who are ignorant of the goal of life.
Text 2. Jayadvita Chandrara Jivana Danu Prana Jaya Srinivasa Gadadarira Nidhana. All glories to he who is the life, wealth, and soul of Sri Advaita Chandra. All glories to he who is the shelter of Srivasa and Gadadhar.
Text 3. जय जगन्नाथ सची पुत्र विश्वम्भरा जय जय भक्त वृंदा प्रिय अनुचर. All glories to Lord Vishwambhar, the son of Sachi and Jagannath. All glories to the devotees who are the beloved associates of the Lord.
Text 4. पूर्वे प्रभु श्री अनंत चैतन्य आज्ञाय राधे अवतीर्ण आयाचेन लीलाया. On the orders of Lord Chaitanya, Sri Anant Dev had already appeared in Radha Desh and was engaged in various pastimes. Purport. In this connection, one should refer to the Adi Khand chapter 2, verses 31, 38 to 40 and 228 to 230. The word Leelaya means by manifesting his own eternal transcendental pastimes in this material world, or in other words, by his own sweet will.
Text 5. Hado Ocha Name Pita Mata Padmavati Ekachaka Name Grama Gaudesh Varayata. His father's name was Hadai Oja, and his mother was Padmavati. Sri Nityanand Prabhu appeared in the village of Ekachakra as the lord of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Haribol report. The
Ribo.
surname Oja is a corruption of the name Upadhyaya, which is used by the Maitila Brahmanas. For descriptions of Hadai Pandit and Padmavati, one may refer to Adikand chapter 2, verse 39. For a description of Ekachakra, one may refer to Adikanda chapter 2, verse 38. The word Gaudeshvara refers to Sri Nityanand Prabhu, who is the Lord and Master of the Gaudiyas. Sri Nityanand Prabhu destroys the living entities, anarthas, or unwanted things, and awards to the Gaudiyas the supreme destination of service in the pure transcendental rasas of Vatsalya, Sakya, and Dasya. The word yati refers to Mareshvara Yati. The village Mareshvara or Mayoreshvara was a famous trade center for silk cocoons and silk thread. In some person's opinion, this place was famous for its Shivalinga. Another reading for the word yati is tati, which is derived from the word tata or tataya, meaning there, and is commonly used in ancient Bengali prose. The amount of interesting facts that he throws in about places and grammar. It's
Okay.
just yeah, it's wild.
Amazing.
He has certain types of audience in mind, you see, because I think this is what he's writing for the Bhadra Lokas, who he presumes that they have very little knowledge of these things. He wants to completely give.
Oh,
Text 6. Because it is written in Gaudiya Bhashya. Originally, it is in Gaudiya Bhash, and it has been translated by Bhanu, I think,
Uh,
by Bhumipati Das, है ना? Bhumipati Das
right.
and Pundarik Vidyarthi Das in English.
Mm.
yes.
शिशु हैते सुथीरा सुबुद्धि गुणवान जिनीना कंदर्प कोटि लावण्य धाम. From his childhood, Lord Nityanand was sober, intelligent, and the abode of all good qualities. His charming loveliness defeated that of millions of cupids.
I just wanted to repeat like chapter 9. I don't know if I said the title out loud. It's Nityanand's childhood pastimes and travel
Ah,
to holy places. So I just
very,
so
very
that we
nice.
remember.
It will
Yeah.
be very good, you
Haribo.
know. Yeah,
Haripal, yes.
it will. His father's name has already come, and his village
Yes,
where he was
fathers.
born, Ek Chakra.
Yes, yes, 7. Say haite Radhe Haila Sarva Sumangala Durbhiksha Daridriya Dosha Khandila Sakala. The entire district of Radha Desh was filled with auspiciousness and devoid of famine and poverty from the time of his birth. Purport. One should refer to Adi Khand chapter 2 verse 133 and Adi Khand chapter 4 verse 47 to 48. On the appearance of Sri Nityanand Prabhu, the absence of kirtan and destitution in the form of materialistic pride were destroyed, and the chanting of Krishna's holy names and propensity for his service were awakened in the hearts of people.
Nice. Text 8. Ye dine janmila navadvipe gwara chandra rade taki kumkura karila nichananda. The day that Lord Gaurachandra appeared in Navadvip, in Radhadesh, Lord Nityanand roared loudly.
Text 9. Ananta Brahmananda Vyapata Haila Hunkare Muru Murcha Gata Haila Yena Sakala Sansare. His roar spread throughout the innumerable universe, and people of the entire world were practically rendered unconscious.
Extend. कथा लोका बालिके बालिक भाइला वज्रपात कथा लोका मानिलेका parama utpata. Some people said it was a thunderbolt, while others thought it was a great calamity.
Text 11. Kato Loka Balileka Janilun Karana Gaudeshvara Gosanira Hoila Garjana. Other people said, we know the cause. It was the loud roaring of Nityananda Goswami, the Lord of the Gaudiyas. Purport. The word Gaudeshvara Gosani is explained as follows. Damodar Swarup, Mahaprabhu's Devatiya Swarup, or second form, along with his two friends Rupa and Sanatan, were the proprietors of service to Krishna in the conjugal rasa. They are also Gaudeshvar or Gaudiyeshvar, which that is why Sri Nityanand Prabhu has been properly addressed as Gaudeshvar Goswami. So interesting.
Text 12. Ei Mata Sarva Loka Nana Katha Gaya Nityanande Keha Nahi Shinila Mayaya. In this way, people had different opinions about what had happened, but no one could recognize Lord Nityanand due to the influence of his illusory energy. The word Mayaya refers to the influence of illusory external energy of Sri Nityanand Prabhu, who is non different from Sri Baldev, the source of all Vishnu expansions. which bewilders the marginal living entities. Those who are under the control of covering and throwing propensities of Lord Vishnu's illusory energy cannot understand the truth regarding Sri Nityanand. Some illusioned living entities say that Sri Nityanand Prabhu was a Maithila Brahman. Some say that he married into the house of Bengali Radha Brahmans, and others say that he was born in low class family. By such deceptive propositions created by Maya, the truths regarding Sri Nityanand are not understood. Moreover, others who are controlled by material intelligence also say that the similar descendants of Nityanand Prabhu's son Veerbhadra are as powerful as Sri Nityanand, and therefore, on the basis of their seminal birth, they are on the same level as Supreme Lord. If this were the fact, then why did this line come under the control of materialistic fruitive smartas who are engaged in enjoying the fruits of temporary activities? Yet others say that the three sons of Veerbhadra were simply his disciples because their sons were born in the village of Barudigin and Batara Vilayajan, and therefore, by worldly considerations, they cannot be considered seminal sons of Veerbhadra. Persons with material conceptions being covered and thrown by the illusory external energy of Sri Nityanand Prabhu endeavor to establish a mundane relationship with him. Such people try to include and count Nityanand Prabhu among the conditioned living entities and thus invite severe offense. This is Sri Nityanand Baldev mysterious pastime of deceiving the demons. Hmm.
એના માતે આપના લુકાઈ નિત્યાનંદ શિશુ ગણ સંગે ખેલા કરે ના આનંદ. Nityanand remained hidden as he enjoyed childhood pastimes with other children.
Text 14. Shishugana Sange Prabhu Yata Krida Kare Shri Krishnera Karyara Nahisvore. The pastimes that the Lord enjoyed with his childhood friends were all related to the activities of Lord Krishna. For while Srinayanand Ram Prabhu sported with his boyfriends, they would enact the pastimes of Gokula, Mathura, and Dwarka. In this way, he fulfilled the desires and assisted in the pastimes of his Lord Sri Gaura Krishna.
Deva Sabha Kare na miliya Shishu Gane पृथ्वी रा रूपे के हे करे निवेदने तबे पृथ्वी लाइया सबे नादी तीरे आया शिशु गणा मेली स्तुति करे ऊर्धवर्या कोना शिशु लुकाइया ऊर्धवा करी बोले जन्मी बाना गिया आमी मथुरा गोकुले. He and his friends formed an assembly of demigods, and one of them, acting as Mother Earth, offered prayers to them. They then led Mother Earth to the river bank, and the children all began to offer prayers. Then one of the boys, hidden from view, loudly declared, I will soon take birth in Mathura Gokul. The word Dev Sabha refers to the assembly of demigods known as Sudharma. The word Nadi Tire means on the shore of the milk ocean. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 10.1.17 to 23, Sri Shukdev Goswami speaks to Parikshit Maharaj as follows. Once when Mother Earth was overburdened by hundreds of thousands of military phalanxes of various conceited demons dressed like kings, she approached Lord Brahma for relief. Mother Earth assumed the form of a cow. Very much distressed, with tears in her eyes, she appeared before Lord Brahma and told him about her misfortune. Thereafter, having heard of the distress of Mother Earth, Lord Brahma with Mother Earth, Lord Shiva and all the other demigods approached the shore of ocean of milk. After reaching the shore of the ocean of milk, the demigods worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead Lord Vishnu, the master of the whole universe, the supreme God of all gods, who provides for everyone and diminishes everyone's suffering. With great attention, they worshipped Lord Vishnu, who lies on the ocean of milk, by reciting the Vedic mantras known as Purush Sukta. While in trance, Lord Brahma heard the words of Lord Vishnu vibrating in the sky. Thus he told the demigods, O demigods, hear from me the orders of Shirodakshai Vishnu, the Supreme Person, and execute it attentively without delay. Lord Brahma informed the demigods, before we submitted our petition to the Lord, he was already aware of the distress on earth. Consequently, for as long as the Lord moves on earth to diminish the burden of his own potency in the form of time, all of you demigods should appear through plenary portions as son and grandsons in the family of Yadus, the supreme personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, who has full potency, will personally appear as the son of Vasudeva.
Text 18. Onadina Nisha Bhage Shishu Gana Laya Vasudeva Deva Kira Kara Yena Viya. One evening, the Lord and his friends enacted the marriage of Vasudeva and Devaki.
Text 19. Bandigara Karya Atyanta Nishabage Krishna Janma Karayana Kehanahi Jage. Then, late one night, while everyone slept, they made a prison and enacted the birth of Lord Krishna. Purport. The phrase Krishna Janma Harayana, enacted the birth of Lord Krishna, is elaborated in the Srimad Bhagavatam 10.3.8 as follows. Then the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu, who is situated in the core of everyone's heart, appeared from the heart of Devaki in the dense darkness of night, like the full moon rising on the eastern horizon, because Devaki was of the same category as Sri Krishna. The phrase Keha nahi jage, while everyone slept, is explained in the following passage of Srimad Bhagavatam 10.3.48. By the influence of Yogamaya, all the doorkeepers fell fast asleep, their senses unable to work, and the other inhabitants of the house also fell deeply asleep.
Text 20. Gokula Srijaya Tathi Anena Krishnere Mahamaya Dila Laya Bhandila Kansare. They created a Gokul, and Krishna was taken there and exchanged with Mahamaya, thereby tricking King Kans. Purport. The pastimes mentioned in this verse are described in the Srimad Bhagavatam 10.3.51-52 as follows. When Vasudeva reached the house of Nand Maharaj, he saw that all the cowherd men were fast asleep. Thus he placed his own son on the bed of Yashoda, picked up her daughter, an expansion of Yogmaya, and then returned to his residence, the prison house of Kans. Vasudeva placed the female child on the bed of Devaki, bound his legs with the iron shackles, and thus remained there as before. The word Dalalaya, gave and took, Dilalaya, gave and took, refers to the point of view of Yashoda, the resident of Vraja. In this drama, the child playing Yashoda gave the child playing Mahamaya to the child playing Vasudev and took the child playing Krishna from him. Another, another reading of this passage is Laya Diya, took and gave, which would then refer to the point of view of Vasudev, the resident of Mathura prison. In this case, the child playing Vasudev took the child playing Mahamaya from the child playing Yashoda and gave the child playing Krishna to
Krishna
her.
to her. Text 21. Kona Shishu Saja Yena Puta Nara Rupe Kehastana Pana Kare Uthi Tare Bhuke. Another time they dressed someone as Putana and someone climbed on her chest to suck her breast. Purport. Regarding Krishna's drinking milk from Putana's breast, the Srimad Bhagavatam 10.6.10 states, on that very spot, the fiercely dangerous Rakshasi Putana took Krishna on her lap and pushed her breast into his mouth. The nipple of her breast was smeared with a dangerous, immediately effective poison. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, becoming very angry at her, took hold of her breast, squeezed it very hard with both hands, and sucked out both the poison and her life.
Text 22. Konadina Shishu Sange Nala Karidia Shakata Gadia Taha Pelena Bangia. One day Nityanand and his boyfriends made a shakata or handcart out of reeds and then broke it. The word nalakadi refers to a type of tall grass in the form of hard hollow sticks, also known as reeds. Breaking the handcart is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam 10.7.7.8 as follows. Lord Sri Krishna was lying down underneath the handcart in one corner of the courtyard, and although his little legs were as soft as leaves, when he struck the cart with his legs, it turned over violently and collapsed.
Text 23. Nikate vasaye yata goyalara ghare alakshite shishu sange giya churi kare. Another day, the Lord and his friends stole from the houses of the neighboring cowherd men. The word Goyala comes from the word Goala, which is the corruption of Sanskrit word Gopala. Regarding the Krishna is stealing butter from the houses of the cowherd men in Srimad Bhagavatam 10.8.29, the gopis complained to Mother Yashoda about Krishna in the following verse. Steyam swadva ati atha dadhi paya kalpatih steya yogi. Sometimes he devises some process by which he steals palatable curd, butter, and milk, which he then eats and drinks.
24. तान्रे चढ़ी शिशु गण नहीं याय घरे रात्रि दीना Nityananda samhati vihare. The boy never left Nityanand's association to go home, but continued sporting with him day and night. The boys never left.
Would it be okay if we read two more and then
Yes, Prabhuji.
paused? Would that be all right? Okay.
Yep.
Text 25. Yahara balaka tara kichu nahi bole sabe sneha kariyara kena laya kole. The children's parents did not complain. Rather, they would affectionately embrace Nityanand.
Text 26. Sabe bole nahi dekhi hena divya khela ke mane janila shishu eta Krishna lila. They said, we have never seen such transcendental sports. How does the child know so many of Krishna's pastimes? Hmm.
Okay.
Awesome. Yeah, so
Uh,
next week
yeah.
Yeah, we
we'll
can
start
start
off
from 20.
with the imitation of the pastimes of the Kaliya serpent. So
Wonderful.
One thing I
let's see.
wanted to talk to you about, Prabhuji,
Yeah,
will
yeah.
you have about half an hour or 1 hour more per week? Because I think, Raman, you have read a lot of Shastras, and if we read Bhagavad Gita and we can get the explanations, we can discuss and get the explanations from you and get it recorded, it will do a lot of good to other people also. Half an hour per
My
week
time.
or hmm. Then
I
we
have to talk to Krishna about it too,
yes, yes,
because
yes, yes, yeah, yeah. I need no immediate
but
reaction, and if you don't have time, it is all right. I mean, it will be perfect.
yeah, I
But we
might
want
not.
to, yeah, we want
Yeah,
to
yeah. Go
start
ahead.
reading in English. You see, because English is important, Karama. Then we will read Bhagavad Gita as it is. Plus, try to understand, Karama, the basic, very basic text, what Lord Krishna
Yeah, well,
is.
it's funny you say that because I don't consider Bhagavad Gita to be very basic. I know there is that hierarchy of understanding that that Bhagavad Gita is the undergraduate, Bhagavatam is the postgraduate. But from my point of view, that's specifically in terms of what it's pointing at, because Bhagavad Gita doesn't directly point to Krishna Bhakti in the way that the Srimad Bhagavatam does. But if you think about the fact, the Arjuna Vishada Yoga, the chapter one, the yoga of Arjuna's lamentation, even though that's like talking about the descriptions of the various armies and also the descriptions of the various conch shells, I always found that to be incredibly beautiful. When it's talked about all of the Pandavas are blowing their specific conch shells and the names are given, even there's so much information given. But if you think about the fact of like, there's dhyana yoga, there's karma yoga, there's Jnana Yoga. There's the discussion of the modes of material nature and how they affect the foods we eat and the activities that we engage in. There's a description of the four types of pious men and the four types of non-pious men. There's another one of my favorite sections is in chapter 15, the description of the inverted banyan tree. So it's like, yeah, okay, maybe it's introductory in that sense, but I mean, you know, you can preach if just learning chapter two of the Gita would give you so much to preach to everyone about because every single topic practically that we discussed is given in a summary form. The nature of the living entity, reincarnation, the sensory control, acting, what the position and activities of a realized person are. That actually comes up twice in that chapter, if I remember, and how just performing our duty but renouncing the fruits. Like, I think the Bhagavad Gita is like. I think it's the most translated and read religious text on the planet, bar none, I think. I mean, maybe second to the Bible, possibly. But in terms of like quote unquote Eastern religious traditions. As an aside, I think it's funny that people talk about Islam, Christianity, and Judaism as Western religions. If you look at the part of the world in which they originate, I wouldn't exactly call that the West.
Mm,
It's, it's not like they started in Europe. They started in the Middle
mm.
East. All the major
Middle
religious
East.
traditions pretty much all the major religious traditions almost without exception to originate in the eastern part of the world. They don't really come out of the western world. But the Bhagavad Gita, I mean, it's for one thing, it's part of the whole thing of the Prasthana Trayi. Like for an acharya to establish a school before Mahaprabhu's time, they had to write commentaries on Vedanta Sutra, the Bhagavad Gita, and the principal Upanishads. I mean, that's how important the Bhagavad Gita is. That anybody establishing a sampradaya or establishing a specific lineage or establishing themselves as a bona fide teacher, they have to comment on the Gita. It is, but I mean, yeah. So I will take a look. I can't promise, and I'm probably not going to be able to do it, but I'll take a look and see what I might be able to come up with because, maybe even if once a month or something like that. But yeah, let me take a look at my schedule. Sorry, and I didn't mean to get all intense. I just
No,
when people
no.
say like basic when people talk about the Gita as a basic text, I'm like, well, let's really look at that for a second because I've read Prabhupada's Gita like 18 times and I still feel like I've never read it. That's part of the reason why I decided to try to memorize all the shlokas because I feel like I I know like you, Varun, you have a much better command of actual shlokas than I do. I know them, but I'm always like, the shloka where it says the thing, and you're like, yeah, that's this one. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. That
I
one there.
completely
I've read them
understand.
so many times, but I don't actually have as thorough a grasp as I would like to. So yeah. So I think it's important to understand from my point of view at least, and again, I'm not trying to tell anyone what to do, but I think the Gita is actually incredibly deep. It's
Yes.
unfathomably deep. And it's the only book, it's a direct conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. Like we're hearing the Vedic conclusions directly from the mouth of Krishna himself in the Gita. So I think the Gita should be read and reread and reread and reread and reread endlessly. It's
Yes.
amazing. And I mean, even in terms of the Bhakti Shastri books, giving any of the other three books, giving the Nectar of Instruction or the Nectar of Devotion or even the Ishopanishad to somebody who's not a devotee, it's not going to have the same effect. You already have to be a practicing devotee to really enter into the NOI and the NOD, but you can give Gita to
Mm,
anybody. I mean, that might be intimidated because it's 700 pages long, but you can hand it out to anyone, and anyone can start reading it. So anyway, that's just
yeah.
my opinion. But yeah, let me take a look at my schedule and get back to you. I do appreciate the offer, and I would love to just spend if I can just figure out a way to stop working, then we could just stay on Zoom calls all day every.
Yes,
But
that's the whole.
I
yeah.
couldn't agree with you more on everything you said about chapter
Oh,
two
thank you.
or Bhagavad Gita as it is, and I think it is very very this thing that it is the most fundamental, and if you can understand chapter two, then you have understood almost the whole
Yeah.
philosophy, because that is the beginning of spirituality. That is why Lord Krishna brought it in the very beginning. I mean, chapter one is about his getting Arjun getting bewildered, and then chapter two is the complete thing how he tries to tell him that what I mean. It is a very basic thing about the body and a spirit and the relationship with the Lord and everything.
Yeah.
Chapter two is the essence. Yes, yes, and yeah, yeah. Of course, can anyway. But you think about it, and no, 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 no. Otherwise, whatever we are doing is good enough for us.
The one
Right. Well, like I said,
yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, yeah.
I do
And,
appreciate it,
but
so
but
just
Bhagavad Gita, you see, many people you have read it 18 times, and one day I was just accidentally watching a video by chairman of GBC. I don't know. I don't remember his name. And he was saying that he read it 40 times. You see, but I think reading Bhagavad Gita alone and reading it the way we are reading these texts are very very different things. You see,
yeah,
you can meditate on
definitely.
each shloka for a complete day. Yes, reading alone is very different, but when you do it in as a I don't know. I don't have an experience, but we are doing it in our family group. So
Oh,
with
that's
with a
nice.
complete
Yeah,
in a family group in which all people are they are basically they are all Hindus. They are like us, but they are coming from the material world, and their insights. Then we when because you see it is very shocking to people who are living in a material world, that when you tell them about detachment, about vairagya, about the purpose of Gita, it is not. It is to really. I mean, I don't know the Gyan and Vairagya. I mean, Gyan and Vairagya. The basic purpose is to become detached from material things. Then only you can get Krishna.
attached.
You see, and
Yeah.
that thing hits them hard because they are still into their wives, children, grandchildren. They are very much into it.
Well,
But yeah,
I also remember Varun telling me that Indians are the hardest people to distribute Krishna
yeah,
conscious
yes,
literature,
yes,
and
yes, yes.
specifically the Gita too. I remember I was when I was in Washington State with my godbrother, we were out on Kirtan, and this I was all fired up. So I was Dodi, Kurta, Tilak. I didn't have a Sika, but I was pretty much it was if you knew who the Hare Krishnas were, you there was no way you were going to mistake me for anything else. And we ran into this Indian couple, and they're like, "Yes, we know Krishna, a very naughty boy with his 16,000 girlfriends." And it's like so you honestly think that there was some material guy named Krishna that was having sexual relations with 16,000 women? Let's first of all think about from the purely physiological standpoint how utterly impossible
Possible that.
that proposition is. So I don't mean to be crass, but when you really think about the silliness of that of actually entertaining that as a real idea,
Yeah,
and so again, I know it's a little bit of a crass way of looking at it, but when you look at it like that, it's like, well, this is idiotic. That can't possibly be what's going on. So yeah, so it's but yeah, let me do a little bit of digging around and I'll get back to you. So
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. So thank you
Hare
so much,
Krishna,
Aribo.
Very well.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Hare Hare, Hare
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 Ram,
Ram.
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna Krishna,
Krishna Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare, Hare
Hare
Ram, Hare
Ram,
Ram,
Hare Ram, Ram Ram,
Ram
Hare
Ram,
Hare.
Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Ram, Hare
Ram,
Ram,
Hare Ram,
Ram
Ram, Hare
Ram,
Hare.
Hare Hare.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hare
Thank you,
Bol.
Prabhuji.
Thank
Hari
you.
Bol.
Hare Bol.